Everyone, thank you again for joining us. I'm here with Rajeev Kapur, who I'm a little starstruck. I don't know about any of you guys. You should be.
Hold on, I got to
I
record this. I got to record that start sort of comment.
Oh, please, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm so happy to have him here. There's really two great books that Rajiv has published and written and published. One is AI Made Simple, and the other one is Chase Greatness. I've read both of them. I love both of them. If you haven't looked them up, you haven't found them, totally worth a read, and definitely worth to be on your library for reference. And so it's really good stuff. So Rajiv, really appreciate you being here. Can you give our listeners a little bit more of your background and kind of where you fall within AI right now?
Yes. No, first of all, Tom, it's a pleasure and honor to be on the AI Sentinel show. You guys are
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank
And
you.
we were joking earlier that it's funny because when this got scheduled and I saw Tom Martin pop up, right? And I mentioned to you like that my mentor at Dell, one of the guys was named Tom Martin. So I kept thinking about him the whole time. Like, wow, I might
Well,
actually Tom again.
as
So
all the greats are,
yeah,
as
of
all the
course.
great people are.
Of course. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So no, look, I mean, a little bit about my career and my kind of diving into AI. So I've been a technology geek my whole life, right? And so first was at an old computer company you might remember called Gateway, right, with the cow
Do
splitter boxes. From there, I
do.
went to Dell. I was one of Michael's first assistants back in the early '90s, and then kind of grew my career up through Dell. Eventually, ended up in China, Hong Kong for Dell for a couple of years, and then down to Singapore for a couple of years. And then family obligations. And my second son was born in Singapore, and I really wasn't seeing my family too much, and decided, to kind of take a break from the hustle and bustle of going crazy at a Fortune 50 company, and got recruited to become president, basically, of an e-commerce company down here in Southern California and Orange County. And I was kind of born and raised out here, like undergrad here, my master's at USC. So this is home, right? Family,
That's
friends,
awesome. Yeah.
So I ended up here, and so right now I'm talking to you from my office here in Newport Beach, and then I did that AI. I did that smart home thing for a little bit, and then went to an audio technology company where we built AI algorithms for audio technology. So that was kind of my first real thing. I was never a technical guy, but I knew it from a business perspective. And then
Sure.
when we exited out of that business, I kind of wanted to learn more about the whole AI world, and I took some courses at MIT, and I got a dual certification in AI from MIT, one in business, one in healthcare. And
Wow.
I started my journey, and I've been involved with AI now for about 12, 13 years. And the company right now, 1105 Media, we cover AI and big data and cloud and analytics and BI and that whole world, everything you kind of need to drive AI models. And so I feel very fortunate to be here. So I've been involved with AI for a long time. And I'll tell you, even being so involved with AI when ChatGPT was released, it caught me completely off guard. I literally fell out of my bed and like, what the F is this? And so
Yeah.
it was mind blowing for me, and it's exciting to me. I think it's exciting for the future of humanity, actually, what it could do for everybody.
Oh, I appreciate that intro. Yeah, I think it's great. Wow, got such a pedigree. Again, just so happy to have you here to talk through it. Well, let's get into it. I know we have some questions, and obviously we'll go all over the place. If we answer these, great. If we continue the dialogue, that's cool too. So, all right, let's talk about AI Made Simple. Really good book. I think just great title because again, it just walks people through. Look, don't get scared with this stuff. Just sit down, start digesting it. I see it as a good first book primer. If someone says, "What is all this AI stuff?" I think it's a good place to start, just to say, what are we trying to do here? Now, for AI Sentinel, we focus a lot on more the ethics and the responsibility that comes with AI, and specifically in healthcare, which Cheryl and I, in our background, is something that we're concerned with, and we have a lot of experience in our careers. When you're talking about ethics and specifically explainability in AI Made Simple, when we think about healthcare, how do we marry explainability with patients and providers so that AI is not scary, but it's something that providers and patients could see as worthwhile? How do we marry the two?
So it's a great question, and thank you very much for that intro on about the book. And that's what the book was written for, right? It was written so somebody who's 75 years old, who's scared of technology, who could just pick it up and just start use it as a primer. Exactly to your point, as a matter of fact, I was on a book club call with a bunch of women, about 10 women. They're all over 80. They got the book and they invited me to come on their book club and just to talk about the basics of AI. And they loved it. It was so much fun. So
That's awesome. So awesome.
and that's what this book is. It's just a primer. So if you want something advanced, it's not for you. If you are new to this and you're feeling a little afraid, pick up the book. It's easy to understand. Now, to answer your question, I'll answer it a couple ways. Number one, if you remember going through the book, I really only have one quote from somebody, not me, in the book. And that's a doctor, Dr. Karina Salaya, talking about particularly AI in healthcare and how AI could actually revolutionize patient care. But now, in terms of explainability and the decision-making process, so I think there's really some core areas. Number one is when you think about ethics, I think where the medical community and the AI community have to get together is there going to have to be a lot of transparency around the algorithms and in terms of providing how the algorithms build the insights and the reasoning, right? You have to have that transparency. Otherwise, you won't have that trust. So, and I talk about that. As a matter of fact, you mentioned that first book, Chase Greatness. The T in great stands for transparency, not trust. And so that's number one. You got to have that full transparency. What is it? How is the algorithm built? What's it looking at? How was it evolved? Like, how are the companies tweaking the algorithms to continue to stay up to date on whatever privacy regulations or whatever there may be, and then provide insight into the reasoning of what those algorithms are doing, right? Now, so that's number one. And number two is you have to develop really clear interfaces or reports that really explain the diagnosis and treatments and the recommendations by highlighting these factors that lead to the conclusions that the AI is providing, right? So you have to be really crystal clear in terms of, here's my report, here's the interface, here's what the AI is providing, and here's why. The here's why part is the most important thing beyond the transparency of the algorithm, okay? And then from there, you have to additionally make sure that healthcare professionals are really trained to really interpret the AI outputs so they can really bridge the gap between the AI and the clinical practice. So there's going to be an AI practice and a clinical practice in the future. And doctors are going to have access to both. And they're going to have to get trained on the AI side. And that's scary to some doctors, having to go learn that, right? And so, but then also, but the thing they don't understand and realize is that AI has been trained on all the medical journals, all the medical doctors that have come before them, right? And so, you know, if anything, it's going to give them a really good chance to understand and go and really provide a really thorough solution. And the other thing of this is that the patients are going to have access to this too. There's no reason why you can't just download ChatGPT on your phone, pay the $20 a month for ChatGPT 4, or eventually ChatGPT 5, whatever that's going to look like.
Right.
That's going to be much more advanced anyways. And so, or take your results, you know, and upload them to advanced data analysis tool within ChatGPT 4 and have it analyze your results for you. The patients are going to become much smarter. This is not like the days of, let me go to Google, put in my symptoms, and you get 50 different websites from WebMD or whatever the case might be. And the next thing you know, every single result from Google ultimately leads to, oh, you're going to die, right? Because that's
right.
So patients are going to get smarter too. So that to me are the three core things.
No, that makes a lot of sense, you know, and yeah, I just see, like you said, I see fast improvement in healthcare with providers and patients. That's one thing I think that folks have always said, oh, you know, patients are going to be so confused, and it's like, well, you know, I don't know if that's accurate or not. I think it will help laser focus what's going on in that encounter, that interaction. Because to your point, if I was denied for something, or if I got a diagnosis and I go out there and look at it, it's the Wild West on the web. Whereas ChatGPT can give me more of a focused answer of what I'm trying to figure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the key there, if somebody's listening, and I want to be clear here, right? ChatGPT is not your doctor today, right? You need to talk to your professional doctor first, right? Or if you want to play around and ask, you can. But if you are going to try to use ChatGPT to be your doctor, by the way, I do it all the time, is you got to learn how to prompt it properly, right? You have to give it a persona of a doctor. To hey, ChatGPT, like the key to success in prompting are three things. You have to give it a role, a task, and an ask. So in this case, you give it a role. Hey, ChatGPT, I need you to be XYZ doctor who's a leader in cardiovascular care, blah, blah, XYZ, whatever it might be, treatments, whatever, right? The task is that I've gotten diagnosed with ABC, 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be. My ask is, please provide solutions on how I can take care of it either through lifestyle changes or other options, whatever, right? And then the key here to success with any AI thing you do with ChatGPT is don't get intimidated by the fact that you're talking to an algorithm. Pretend you're talking to a human on the other end of the screen. And that's what's going to be key. And so that's what I tell people. That's what I tell my friends, my colleagues, the clients I work with, the people I talk to, the people I train. That's what's going to be key from a patient perspective.
That's a good way to look at it. That's a great perspective. Yeah, I can't agree more on that. That makes a lot of sense. Now, when we're thinking of all this stuff that's going on in the back end, all these algorithms and things that we're struggling with, one of the things that always crops up is bias, whether it's conscious or unconscious. How should a leader whose next business struggle is getting AI into their operation, how should a leader really think about bias? I mean, is it that terrifying that it should really paralyze what we're doing, or how should a leader think about that? And especially in healthcare, when thinking about bias, what should a leader really start to comprehend?
Well, I mean, the leader needs to be thinking about this. If you are dealing with an issue with bias, then the problem isn't the bias. The problem is the data that led to the bias. It all starts with the data. Like AI doesn't just, you don't snap a finger and AI just doesn't show up. You have to train the
Yeah.
algorithm, and the algorithm gets trained on your data. So if your data is already biased, your results are going to be biased. So
Mhm.
the number one step is you have to have amazing data. Like what I tell people that, like, I know I'm probably jumping around here just a little bit, but if you look at the
Yep.
5 pillars
Fine.
of success with AI, for me, the second most important pillar of success is data, data, data. Like,
Yeah.
it's all about your data, because if it starts with your data. You have to make sure you're implementing diverse data collection strategies, and you're promoting that inclusivity into the different team compositions, and ensuring that monitoring and auditing of that AI system for bias, right? But it all starts with your data. And the people in companies that have real good command of their data, meaning it's stored properly, it's managed properly, the data is protected properly, there's a lot of privacy around that data, it can be extracted easily, it's easy to train the algorithm with their data, then they're the ones who are going to be light years ahead of everybody else. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're a data and you're a healthcare company or a professional, or you're looking to build a better mousetrap, start with your data. Build an amazing solution around the data first. If you don't have that first, it's like the foundation of a house. Your house will collapse over time.
I'm so glad you said that and that you stressed that amount, because we found there's so many folks rushing to implement something just to pat themselves on the back and say, "Hey, we've got AI, we're here now." And it's like, well, you paid all this, or you did all this work for nothing, because if your data is still, if you're still struggling with data governance, any AI prediction is going to be inherently flawed, no matter if it's biased or not. The data is just inherently bad, and any prediction is just going to fail. So I'm so glad you stressed that, because we just that can't be stressed enough. So I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that.
and I'll give you like a little bit further, more like peel the onion a little bit, right? Like if you have data on a bunch of European health, right, and you want to compare that to African health or U.S. health, you can't, like, okay, you can do the comparison, but you can't draw conclusions, right? Because
Mhm.
Europeans have a much cleaner diet, right? And so whereas Americans have the
Mhm.
standard American diet, that's why it's called SAD, for example, right? And
Mhm.
African people may not be getting enough proteins or nutrition in some cases, right? And I'm just throwing that out there as an example. So you have
Sure.
to encourage, you have to build a culture that values that ethical AI and diversity can also help mitigate that bias. So you got to make sure that you're doing the right comparisons, that you can't take one set of data and apply it to another group of people. It just without, so you have to make sure that you're taking, you're really using the data as apples to apples to the patient who you're trying to provide information for.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. What would you say to a leader who's getting pressure from maybe maybe their constituents, maybe stakeholders, saying, "Hey, let's say CEO Rajeev, you need to get an AI solution by the end of the quarter. We need to get this done." But a leader that really understands this says, "Well, our data is problematic." What type of messaging could leaders bring forth to stakeholders to say, "Well, here's our challenge"? I mean, what's a what are the things that have to be brought up, and what do leaders have to focus on to get stakeholders to kind of let's slow down and let's think it through? Because a lot of times in business, that's not what people want to hear. It's go, go, go. So how can a leader build enough of a case to say, let's hold up. We have a couple challenges before we implement AI.
So this might be a little bit of a lengthy answer, so you're going to have to let me wrong with this one.
Bring it.
This is
Bring it.
probably my favorite question. Of the questions you sent over to me, this is probably my favorite question to talk about, right? So look, at the end of the day, as a leader, you got to be thinking about 5 things when it comes to AI. Number one is your organization has to be really curious and not judgmental about the AI. So a lot of people think that we're in the crawl, walk, run phase of this stuff. We're not. We're not in the crawl phase. This technology is still really young. It's a 16, 17-month-old baby, right? If the baby's barely starting to crawl, right? The baby's still in the crib. So, right? So we're just maybe starting to get to the crawl phase of this whole world. And then I think you're going to see an exponential growth. So number one, you got to be really curious. Forget about boiling the ocean and all of a sudden having this amazing AI solution. Just start with getting your company and your teams just to start using the tool. Like, encourage them to use the tool for their personal use, for their family. And I'm going to be totally simple here, right? Just like the book is. Use the tool to help you figure out how to bake a cake, right? Use the tool to help teach you how to play guitar. And the reason why I tell people to start using it from a personal basis, because the more Mr. CEO, Miss CEO that you're listening to this, the more they start using the tool for their personal use, their family use, the more they're going to use it for business use because they're more curious about the tool. That's number one. So be really curious within the business. Start using it to maybe start writing some sales scripts. Start using, hey, create my Instagram post. Start using it to figure out your SEO opportunities. Start using it to analyze certain files. So basic, easy blocking and tackling things. If you need help with that, call me. I'll help you, right? And then, so that's number one. Number two is, we talked about this already, data. Make sure before you do anything with AI, you can't do shit with AI, sorry for my French, unless you've got amazing data. If you don't have amazing data, whatever the hell you do is going to fail. Absolutely going to fail. So do not jump to any AI solution without understanding your data first. So that's number two. Number three, stop focusing on the term artificial intelligence. I want you to start focusing on augmenting intelligence, right? Look, when the calculators came out, it didn't, it augmented people's ability to do math. And I'm being simplistic with that. I mean, because there will be some job impact at some point. But there's always going to be some job impact anytime you see a major revolutionary change in technology, right? So start focusing on augmenting intelligence. Start focusing on how these tools internally in your organization first can help make you more productive, not you necessarily, but your employee base, your company base, more productive and more efficient. How they can start using it to do predictions, how they can use it to do tracking, whatever it might be. You can do those things. So start using it. How can you augment what people are doing? Like, I'll give you an example. There's an advanced feature available in ChatGPT-4. I mentioned it already, called advanced data analysis. Well, for 20 bucks a month, I'm giving you a data scientist in your pocket. I mean, $240 a year. Are you kidding me? I mean, who can get that? Now, I'm not saying that it's going to replace your data scientist, but for the short term, small little things you need to get done, analyze this report, analyze this paper, take a look at this PDF, what works, what not working. Let the AI do it for you. What we're seeing here is a lot of use cases where AI and ChatGPT can be a product designer for you. I'll give you a small example. I worked closely with a firm out of Europe, and they're one of the oldest beauty brands. And they were thinking about, hey, we got to figure out how to make a product that does both Botox and collagen at the same time, to have to do them individually. So we used ChatGPT, we pulled it up, and with something that they've been working on for 6 months, in 16 minutes, it spit out a formula that they hadn't thought about. Right now, who knows if it's going to work or not? But the point of it is that it opened up a different type of door for them, right? So there's that piece. So it's augmenting intelligence, and then if you augment intelligence the right way, it's going to do the one thing money can't do, which is buy time. All of a sudden, it's going to make you more efficient, your team more efficient. Think about it, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, my team is so busy. My team is so busy. My team is so busy." Great. If you start using the AI tools, stuff that maybe had taken 9, 10 hours to get done, now it's going to get done maybe 7 hours, 7, 8 hours, right? It's going to make people more efficient. It will hopefully improve quality of life for everybody around them, right? Because or if all of a sudden, hey, people's work's getting done a little bit more efficiently, great. Let them have that time to go work on themselves, or let them have that time to go spend that time, on other things. Like I read a quote the other day. It says, "I want AI not so that I can spend more time doing dishes and doing laundry, right? I want the AI to do those things so I can become more creative and go learn the guitar and go train for a triathlon or go whatever I want to go do, right? Go learn how to cook something, whatever the case may be, right? So that's buying time for yourself, right? And then finally, at the end of the day, it's not an option. You have to start implementing your organization. So before you think about building it for your customers, first build it for your own self, right? So that's the first part of my answer. The second part of that is that if you are there, and now you're looking to go to leading it across to your customer base, you have to learn how to prioritize clear communication and set real strong guidelines, ethical guidelines, whatever they might be, to ensure that the alignment of the project is within the organizational goals, right? So that's kind of number one. Just that's a core foundational. Second thing is you have to make sure that you provide, if you're going to provide the solution to your customer base, you have to make sure your internal teams have been provided with the resources and training necessary for that AI integration, and then for providing that solution to your customer base. Because the problem right now that we're seeing right now in the AI world, Tom, is a lot of AI whitewashing. So it's similar to back when the .com craze was going on. All of a sudden, everybody became Rajeev.com or Tom.com, right? Even though they were doing nothing with .com. Oh my God, I got to put .com at the end of it because wow, Nvidia stock's going crazy, so I better put .com, and we better say we're AI, so our stock goes crazy, right? But it's a lot of AI whitewashing going on, right? So you got to be careful, and that will eventually weed itself out. But for the next couple of years, you're going to see, you're going to see some of that, and then you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is that you're making sure you're contributing to your own customers' values and experimentation and ethical considerations. So it's going to be really important, and then make sure that you're rewarding that innovation in a real strong way.
It totally makes sense. Augmentation, I think, is the word that folks need to keep in their vocabulary in the front of their mind, because we consistently get questions on, especially in some groups that I've worked with. Well, hey, if we implement this, how many FTE equivalents do you think? I'm like, well, right now, none. I mean, this still needs to learn. I mean, it's the same thing with, like, if you have a phone prompt or a chat bot. I mean, it's a similar thing, that it just helps get some of the easy stuff out of the way. And when they're coming in for more complex questions, well, then that's when you have a CSR. That's when you have an auditor has to do something. But augmentation is what we've said.
Yeah, and I have a rule, and this might get me banned from the company, but I have a real
okay.
I have a real take on this, which is AI is getting blamed for layoffs in the tech sector, right?
Okay.
That's bullshit. That is 100% bullshit. Okay,
yeah.
All these companies got a ton of money from the government, right? From the Trump administration, from the Biden administration, during COVID, PPP loans, all this money came in, right? They hired up like crazy. They're spending money like crazy. Dude, Google laid off 31 massage therapists 6 months ago, or whatever the number was, right? I mean, are you kidding me? Like, well, what does AI have to do with that, right? So
yeah,
these companies are just kind of getting back to kind of their kind of pandemic levels, or kind of right around their pandemic levels of hiring, which, you can argue they went crazy. And look, in my company, my day-to-day business, right, the Notified Media business, we're seeing a lot of that, right? We're very tech focused in what we do, right? So we're seeing a lot of our customers slow down in their digital marketing spend, right? And that's fine, and eventually it'll rebound again. It'll start coming back up again in the future. But to blame AI for it is just an easy scapegoat, and that is really not the case. I would argue that a lot of it is just poor mismanagement at the top by certain technology companies, and look, I think the company that probably has weathered the storm the most from an internal perspective, but they've done a really poor job of communicating their AI strategy, is probably Apple. Like Apple did some layoffs, but that was after they shut down Project Titan, which is their car division, right?
Okay.
So they decided they're not going to do that, so they laid off a bunch of people from that division. But overall, they haven't really done any layoffs. But one of the things they've done a really poor job of, and to me, I think they're the sleeping giant in the AI space, which is what the hell are they going to be doing with the generative AI world? And they have to do it because if you think about it, they have access to everything, right? Through the App Store, through the smartphone, through the browsers, through you name it, right? So, and if you think about it, right, YouTube has an app, right? So Apple can see that information just as Google can see that information, right? So they have access to all the data. Like Google doesn't have access to the Apple ecosystem, but Apple has access to some of the Google ecosystem, right? Apple has access to the Meta ecosystem. Meta doesn't have access to the Apple ecosystem, right? So there's a huge opportunity. So if Tim Cook is listening, Tim, you got to figure out and deploy your AI strategy, whether that's going to be in, I guess, iOS 18 or with the new iPhones coming in September or whatever it might be. You're going to have to do it. And when they do, I think they're going to be a game changer. By the way, I think their chips over time could also potentially become a really strong AI. It could be a really strong AI solution too. So I think Apple is probably the sleeping giant in the category.
Wow, that's an interesting observation. It's funny you say about AI being the boogeyman that people blame it for, but there was a healthcare company, United, that put their prior authorization process through AI, and they blamed AI when things went south for prior authorizations, and patients were getting denied care, providers were getting denials. And then they came out and said, well, sorry, it was AI's fault. It's like, no, that was the algorithm's fault. That AI had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
And it's just
and who created the algorithm, right?
right. It's just AI is pretty agnostic. So
right, and so they rushed into the market.
yeah,
They didn't have due diligence. They should have spent another year, right? And then they should
fair
have opened
enough.
it up in beta, select clientele, use it, test it, play with it, improve, right? But like, I mean,
Yep.
look, this AI world is look, the thing that keeps me up at night about AI is not the United of the world's effing up what they did. What keeps me up at night is the whole deep fake world that's coming. That to me
Sure.
is the biggest. So that's the only thing in this space that really keeps me up at night, right? I mean, like I'm going to ask your listeners to do something, and I'm going to ask you to do it too, in case you haven't done it. So I want everybody to quickly Google Hong Kong CFO deep fake. So I'm going to keep talking. Tom, do me a favor. Google Hong Kong CFO deep fake. And what you're going to find there is going to blow your mind. And that is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. You're seeing deepfake issues happening with stupid high school kids putting girls' faces on bodies that they shouldn't be doing. You're seeing deepfake technology happen where people are mimicking Joe Biden's voice, President Biden's voice, saying "Don't vote." You're seeing people create images of President Trump with
Wow.
with a community of people that he would never be seen with. So did you find that Hong Kong?
I did. It's like a $25 million scam that went down.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not going to Google it, what happened was a CFO in Hong Kong got on a Zoom call with a bunch of employees. One of them was a CEO and some other people, and the imagery, the voice was all deepfake. It wasn't them, and they told the CFO that, oh, we've got this great partnership. We've just got this great thing. We're going to be investing in this new company, and we need to wire $25 million to this company. And he said, okay, because he's literally like, you could right now be literally you and me, right? Deep fake like this with our voices and everything.
Sure.
The dude wired $25 million, and then it goes down, and then they're looking at their bank balance, and the CEO is going, "What are you doing? What happened? Like, where did our $25 million go? What are you talking about? You told me to send it. What? Huh?
Right.
And that's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So the good news about AI is that everybody's going to have access to it. The bad news is that everybody's going to have access to it. So to me, we talked about explainability in healthcare and biases. I think the next, beyond OpenAI and some of these other companies that are coming up, the person or people or teams that can solve this deep fake challenge, they're the heroes of the future of AI.